we've talked about what we need for a collaboration. We've talked about the transformation that we've seen. And now we get to the sticky stuff. We get to the challenges that we encounter from these collaborations in the fintech space. Eric, again, we start with you. The challenges, man, there's a number of them, but what's your take? What kind of challenges have you seen?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of them, but I feel the stickiest one is just a lack of true research and development in these organizations. And again, the risk that is associated with these startups. So on the R&D side is you have a huge organization that has these sticky needs, but then their runs are quarterly. So you have a budget allocated to R&D, but yet how do you pretty much report for that? What did you use the money to do? Shareholders will ask, and so that's a problem. Again, it's just this feel and need that I want to solve a problem instead of transform it. So you have a sticky problem in logistics. You can go the entire length of taking the time to invest in it and possibly work with an organization that can fix that, but then it takes a while. You want an immediate problem that will fix my problem in the next 6 months, the next 3 months, and that's not just gonna happen. It will be an immediate problem, and then in the next 18 months, you're gonna have the same problem, but then much more compounded. So I feel that's a very major challenge in that regard. But then obviously on this other layer, it's the risk that is associated with startups. So reputational, obviously, and also how do you price for that risk? You're sharing your data. What sort of text do you give around that? This is gonna be thorny, but then I feel the other problem is there's just a lot of IT maximalism stuff going on, where you have companies that just want to check off stuff. Oh, we're working with startups, we have this fund, and we're doing all this cool stuff. And then you also have companies that just want to win awards. Oh, we are on this digital transformation journey. But then it really doesn't have any impact on like the true ecosystem or the true advancement of the ecosystem. And for me, I feel that's a very sticky problem. And then finally, just this lack of know-how in one way or another. So you truly know that you need to be advanced. So I didn't think blockchain was interesting from a personal perspective. But then if you attended any conference last year, it was all that CEOs across the continent and across the world were speaking about. Then where's blockchain right now? So it's this whole buzzword, yeah, we're in there, but then it's not truly transformative because of just this lack of know-how. So I feel that's a challenge, and possibly we can speak about how that can get solved in one or another. Yeah.
Thank you for that. On research and development, ladies and gents, I mean, if you think of, I don't know what, Nigeria's budget is what, $30 billion? There are some companies whose R&D budgets are bigger than countries. I mean, it's that important. So thank you for raising that, Eric. Elsa, I'll come to you. What kind of challenges have you seen? Or can you speak about as far as innovation and collaboration is concerned?
So I think to build on what Eric said, I think the main challenge is to move all the different big stakeholders together. We can move like the telco space, MTN open API. Then you are, from the experience from what he did in other country, the main first challenge, half of the developer that would subscribe on your sandbox, only half will succeed to use the API. So it questioned the question in terms of university curriculum. How do we train? What kind of effort is done by the academic today to actually train students and post-students, like people to be ready for blockchain, API technology? How well education side pushing for it. The next, amongst those developers that will be successfully use the sandbox, we are going to lose another half of them because they don't have the certificate of incorporation, all the registration thing of the company. They have not yet at the stage of registering their company, or not yet in the mindset. No, it's not only about myself as a developer, it's about setting up a business. So again, it's question like, how far are we again like supporting those people to get trained from a business perspective and to meet and to actually set up a business in a way it can be successful. Last one, when finally those developers as an incorporate company and so on the sandbox is working, guess what? They're ready, but there is no money. So all the venture capital can support. All venture capital in a country, so I understand that there are many Legos trying to offer proposition, how efficient it is. And all big company like banks or telco are actually also setting up equity or like accelerator program where they be able to invest from a private or even government from a public perspective to support the ecosystem. So for me, the challenge is that how do we move that collaboration set of stakeholders all together so that we are not in a position where there are things that are happening but is never fully actualized.
Thank you for that.
Can I
Elsa.
just
Thank you.
jump
Yeah,
right in?
go ahead.
So one of the things that we did at Africa's Talking is we realized that was a huge problem. So you'd have developers who sign up onto the platform and I signed up, you have 10 units of credit, and then that ends up. But then so you have the API, you have all this nice documentation, but then it sort of doesn't, you don't take them through the entire journey. And so what we decided to do is we collaborated with a bunch of universities, and we're also doing that in Nigeria across, so we do that in, I think, 9 countries. And so you're going around these universities, you're going around in these meetups and all these communities, and you're speaking about our standards and possibly we're building our entire stack on Scala. Why is Scala interesting? Here's how the APIs work. And inadvertently, you start to see that value. So ideally, you'd see a developer sign up onto the platform and they're utilizing the 10 units that we give them. In a space of a bunch of months, following all these activations, the documentation and everything else, the top up is now, what, $10? Goes on to $100, and then you have these guys who are now building at scale, who randomly started writing their code in PHP and are now writing great code in Scala, in Python. So for us, it's been an interesting journey, but I totally see what you mean, and absolutely, I think it's a space for collaboration again. Yeah.
Excellent. I like the fact that you've both touched on private enterprise partnering with universities and schools in the education sector. But what we also need more is for the public sector to do that as well. I mean, they have to, because as Elsa has mentioned, the curriculums are on the public side are outdated, you know, but so we're thankful the private sector for doing that. But that definitely is thank you both for pointing that out. Babajide, challenges.
I would look at the challenges from where I sit from, and that's assisting my bank engage the tech ecosystem. So incubators, accelerators, venture capitalists, tech startups. And I think there's a general problem. And number one is, I think in this part of the continent or the world, we say or we talk more than we do. So execution is a great challenge. I've been to tons and tons of conferences, and we talk all day, policy documents are discussed, but no walkthrough execution. I think, and that's why I respect some of our Asian friends, you know, they don't talk too much, they just do. You know, so I think that's a big challenge. The second thing that is a big challenge is the PR bit and the buzz bit of what we refer to as the tech ecosystem. So today we're talking about fintech. And why I'm talking about the PR bit is from my engagement, a big challenge is that some of the tech startups that have come to emerge, I've seen this PR bit or this bubble as an hustle. You know, so there are several accelerator programs, for example, that I've designed on behalf of my bank or hackathons. And you know what I see? I see the same set of guys trying to compete for the grant. I see the same set of guys at hackathon A, hackathon B, sponsored by even your competition, sponsored, you know. So it has become an hustle such that startups are no longer spending time developing and building products. They move from one hackathon to the other. And they move from one accelerator program to an accelerator program. So it's a big challenge, the PR buzz. So the ecosystem is good. It's good that it's getting information, but we're having people at this part of the world not building product, but taking advantage of the space. And I think the last thing which you tried touching up is I think the greatest challenge would be maybe adequate support from the public sector. So I think, in my own opinion, what we are doing should be private driven, but if we would really have quantum leap, we need aggressive public sector support, because we pay VAT, we practically do everything for ourselves in this part of the world.
VAT is going up, 2020, you know that, right? Yeah. Thank you for that, Babajide. Ayodeji, your thoughts on the challenges that we're seeing?
Yeah, well, before I talk about the challenges of open banking, I think I will need to say something slightly counter to what he said. Yeah, I know that there is a lot of hype, right? But I think the challenge is that we don't even have enough startup or fintechs in Nigeria. Now, look, how many are we in Nigeria? Like 200 million. How many fintechs? How many startups? I don't think if you stack them after the other, maybe about 200. In a country like Israel that has like 8.9 million people, they have about almost 8,000 fintechs. That's like one for every 1,000 people. Let's say we take 50% discount. We look at in Nigeria, what you have, you probably need about thousands and thousands in Nigeria. So that's the truth. So we don't have enough because our problems are not being solved. So it's easy when the noise is like we're all sitting in an echo chamber, right? You tend to bump into some set of people, so you feel no, but we don't because we have so much problem in Nigeria. Today, when you look at financial inclusion, there are about like from Elfina last year, 36.6 million people don't have bank accounts. That's equal to like the 38 million people that have BVN. Look, so we have like the market is out there. Now, the product that works for those who have money, it's not going to be a product that is going to work for those who don't have money. I know a lot of time people talk about financial inclusion and they talk about savings. I always laugh because I think it's the stupidest thing I ever had. Because you can only save when you have enough. When you have a country with about almost 90 million people living on less than $1.90 a day, what do you have left to save? Unless the sunshine. So you can't do that. So, but which is the reason why I believe that open banking will pave way for credit, because with credit you have a lease of life. When you have a lease of life, then you can have a source, you can have business, you can, whether you take 10. Sometimes if you go into the market in Nigeria today, you see market women will take like 10,000 loan in the morning, buy goods, sell, and then return in the evening, maybe just make 2,000, and then they are okay with that. This is what we need. We don't even need credit for those who want to buy cars, who want to do mortgages. Look, those are problems for people that don't really have so much problems. If you go outside of echo chamber, you say that. Now, coming to the challenges of open banking, like somebody said, we talk, we don't act. You said the Chinese people. So when I got out of banking, I was working somewhere, and we wanted to build an app that allows you to see all your bank balances across. Nice idea. Seems like a very simple thing to do. As in, after all, I could see all my emails on my phone. And then I started going around banks, and it was the toughest period of my life because it looks like I couldn't do anything. Like simple things couldn't just get done. Now, so when I started talking to people that why can't we get this simple idea? Why can't you get it done in Nigeria? Everybody say, oh, that's where it's always been. And I told myself, look, I'm not going to join you guys to complain. And at first I said, okay, let's have that was when open banking was starting in Europe. And I said, let's have a common standard in Nigeria as well. Of course, I was afraid. I thought, how could I change all these banks? But then I told myself, if I don't do it, he's going to do it. Maybe somebody will do it, but so far nobody has done it. Then we called everybody and then we started doing it. Now that's where the challenges started from. Because some people you felt that were being the first to jump, people that talk about innovation, that talk about collaboration. But then when you call them to the table, they never show up. Everybody is like, it's a village goat problem. Everybody thinks the goat is going to eat in somebody else's house. And that guy is thinking the goat is going to go to eat. Then one day you find the goat dead. So we were all running around in circles that way. And you will feel the innovative companies will be the one that will be in front. No. I can tell you that. So people talk about government, it's difficult to get things done with CBN. I can tell you in the 2.5 years I've been trying to do, we've been at this open banking journey, the most engaging session we ever had was with the central bank. They literally wanted to rip our head out and suck out every idea we have about open banking. And then you also find the unusual people offering help. We went to a bank one day, this presentation, they love it. We left. They called us and said, don't you guys need money? I said, yeah, we need, but we don't ask for money. And then they gave us grant to build the sandbox, which we are currently working on. There's one time we are going to England for open banking conference, and so there's a bigger foundation, has some people in Lagos, but in the end, those is the guys from Kenya that actually paid for the guys in Nigeria to go to that place. So that's what you find very interesting, that those you feel will drive things are not there, because everybody has this belief that, I can do it by myself, it doesn't concern me, or look, when they do it, we all enjoy it together, not knowing fully well that your effort may be the thing that will make that thing go. But we believe we've gotten to a critical stage where our initial fear that maybe this thing is possible has disappeared, because the CBN is fully lined up, a lot of banks are lined up, almost all the top industry players that find innovation important have lined up. And then we just believe you just need maybe 6 months, 1 year, and then this thing will be live. And for us, what keeps us going is we believe that when this thing is done, and then we have 1,000 more fintechs come around, so they will stop going to hackathon and start building products now. We believe their impact on financial inclusion, on credit, we believe is worth whatever pain we are going through at this time.
Deep. Thank you so much for that. Excellent. Edobasi, your thoughts on the challenges that we're seeing?
Yeah, so I'd say within the the ecosystem, when you're seeing the fintechs or it really pretty much every other startup's trying to collaborate with a technology company. I like the word he used. I think most people are doing it as hustle, because again, a startup would come, have a really engaging meeting with you, and you're trying to push things internally. 2 months down the line, or when you're calling, I got a job, or I'm relocating to Canada. I'm like, okay. So it pretty much felt like, well, there are less jobs in Nigeria, or there are less jobs in the ecosystem. So what should we do? What should we do? So there's the commitment to it is not really there. And then you begin to have people asking you questions internally when you've probably raised the roof on people that are on their way to Canada. Now that's pretty much one of it. And then the other part is for the ones that even that want to stay, and you're building that whole motion with them. So when it comes to looking at their infrastructure, and then you sort of realize from a technology standpoint, this is not based on best practices. So if we're going to be slamming our brand, with this technology, and we're going to be fitting into the ecosystem, everybody has to know that this has to work. We don't want to hear this has failed, and the first thing that you pick up is that, Microsoft was the brand behind it. Howbeit, it was being built by a startup. So you sort of realize that the whole whatever, and from a best practice and standards of how it should be done, it wasn't quite done right. And then you hear the guy saying, my top developer has just been pushed, or those kind of stories. So I think for me, the challenges here are there's a whole lot of, from the ecosystem, the commitment to actually carry it out to the end. Howbeit, there's a lot of challenges within the startup ecosystem. Do they have the commitments for it? And, are you just building stuff? Are you benchmarking whatever you're building with what is best practice, what is out there in Western world, what is out there in more developed regions? Because again, that's, if you're looking at, building something that's going to meet standard, then that's what we should be benchmarking.